Morning, everyone. It's lovely to see those who can join us live, and then those who are, let me just pin myself, who are listening later. It's a beautiful day. We're in the Eastern Cape, and it's just as we've had the most amazing weather, Santorini in St. Francis. Um, and it is the 11th of December. And it's been an interesting time. So I used my frankincense just before, and I encourage you, if you've got any oils like frankincense or rose or even peppermint to clear the sinuses, or anything just to bring us into the present moment and to really enhance our practice. I can see Sue's doing this. So I'll just put a few drops of frankincense, because there is so much going on. And Pam Gregory talks about having energetic upgrades in the last few weeks and months, and that, she's really felt it. And when she talks about that, these are actually solar flares that come into the the Earth's atmosphere. And so there is literally more light energy. And she's talked about that in many of her other YouTubes, and it's worth looking into. But it is a time of high energy. It is also still Mercury retrograde, which it's glitchy technologically. So let's say we lost all our electricity for hours, basically all our devices failed. It was a planned sort of thing, but we didn't know the plan. Um, and then it's just like my laptop had upgraded itself, and then it's lost memory space, and then everything was just glitchy. And it is a little bit like that at this time. I'm sure Ellen and others can tell us more about it. But um, we're heading into the full moon in Gemini on the 15th of December. And on the full moons, the sun and moon are directly opposed to each other. And it's the peak of the moon cycle. It's a culmination, it's a completion, and it's a closure. So yeah, it's kind of, it shines a light on whatever things we might not have been aware of before. And we've talked about this many times. And then we're heading towards the Capricorn solstice on the 21st of December, which is our midsummer solstice. And I haven't looked into that too much, but I know Pam Gregory has done a little video on it recently. So those who are interested could have a look at that. And Pam talks about 2025 being a very eventful and dynamic year, and suggests that we need more stillness meetings with ourselves. She says that we're moving from the age of the mind, which we've had so profoundly in this lifetime, in all of our lifetimes, because it's been the information age. We've had computers, we've had the internet, we've had the World Wide Web, we've had social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, WhatsApp, stuff just coming at us more and more at a higher pace. I mean, many of us can barely remember what life was like before cell phones and before laptops and computers and things. I mean, how did we even survive? But somehow we did. And so she says we're moving from this age of information, and of like this fast hamster wheel mind, to an age more of the heart and of higher mind, of wisdom, which is encouraging. But she really encourages us to have practices to decompress ourselves, like barefoot on the grass, belly breathing, or that Wim Hof breathing. I find is very helpful. If you want me to, I'll share that link on our Mindful Moments app. It's a 10-minute breathing exercise, and I was talking about, on Essentially Speaking, yesterday, how our breath is our greatest detox, our breath and our sweat. And we don't want to use antiperspirant deodorant because it clogs up our sweat pores. We need to sweat things out, and then we breathe things out. And with this Wim Hof breathing, it's particularly powerful for blowing off stuff. And I think that's why you feel so much better after it. And it's a continuous cycle of 40 breaths like that. And you can breathe in your nose and out your mouth, or in your mouth and out your mouth. And you go sort of for 40 breaths, and then there's a breath hold. And I sometimes like to add that breath of fire to it, which is such a nice yogic exercise where you breathe, open your mouth and you stick out your tongue and you sort of breathe that fire, because I feel like I'm getting rid of a lot of the stuff that's pent up emotions, pent up stuff I'm trying to detox. And it really shifts things, and you can feel quite profoundly, because then you do a breath hold afterwards, how much longer you can hold your breath. It's not a holding in and it's holding, it's just a letting go and sort of being still in one's body. And so when I add the like that, it's never great for anyone to see. But it just, like, I can hold my breath, or just relax into it for that much longer. And I feel like I've blown off a lot of my heat and my steam, my stress. So that for me is very decompressing. And then the heart coherence practices that we do a lot in our mindful moments, of regulating our heart rate and connecting with our heart energy. And this is a time of overload, and many of us are feeling a fog of overwhelm. And Pam really encourages us to listen to our intuition and our dreams and our hunches, and really start to trust what hops into our minds, which I've started to do much more over the last few years, and especially over the last year. And I find it really supportive and wondrous, sort of living in this way. And one really does invite the synchronicities and the intuition and the awareness, but it also, I find it quite busy, as there's so many hunches and there's so much that sort of comes at me, or to me during the day, arises in me. And so the time to ground is really important, and often neglected for me. You know, there's so much to do. There's so much calling on my to-do list, as I'm sure there is on yours. And so for me, one of the best ways to ground is also in the water. My energetically and astrologically, and in my like Ayurvedic disposition, I'm very much fire and up here. And so for me, being barefoot on the grass, or being in water, or being walking and things, are all very, very grounding for me and very important. So I have to try and really prioritize that. And my dreams are definitely becoming stronger. Pam Gregory suggests a dream journal next to your bed. And when you wake up, before you even move or open your eyes, just to really kind of recall the dream, to anchor it. And then, because if you move and you open your eyes, then it's gone. And so to anchor it, and then you can write it down once you've had a chance to anchor it. And this is so much about our guidance and the hunches and the intuition. And that the direction of travel at the moment is spiritual, and we are all getting a deeper sense of our own divinity. And I love and use these two beautiful resources every day. This Jesus Calling, which my mum gifted me, and my gran used to have next to her bed, and it's just a lovely confirmation. There's beautiful there Bible verses to dive deeper into, and they're just short passages for each day. And sort of today it says, "I'm working on your behalf. Bring me all your concerns, including your dreams." Isn't that interesting? Because that's just so aligned to what we were talking about. Talk with me about everything, letting the light of my presence shine on your hopes and plans. And it carries on, and it finishes with he says, hurry is not in my nature. Abraham and Sarah had to wait many years for the fulfillment of my promise of a son. How their long wait intensified their enjoyment of this child. And in the Bible verse, it actually said Abraham was 100. Faith is the assurance of things hoped for, perceiving as a real fact what is not revealed to the senses. And I think part of what we do now is to heighten our senses so that we perceive more intuitively, and with our sixth sense. And then this is also a beautiful book, Deeper Still. Um, it- and it's also got some a lovely passages for the day. And this one is all about refilling on God. And the Lord is a shelter for the oppressed and a refuge in times of trouble. It talks about God offers proper rest for the weary and has the ability to restore us in a way that the world never can. So I often find that these two actually reinforce each other, interestingly enough. And our poem for today is another Julia Fehrenbacher one. I'm actually on her mailing list, and if you enjoy her poems, I encourage you to be too, because she just sends sort of a weekly poem, and this one actually came through this week. I actually printed out her lovely, she's got another lovely ebook, that's, I think it's called Staying in Love, and my intention was to look in there for a poem, but then I just saw that this email had come through, um, and it was um, just a day or two ago, I think. And it's called the Not Good Enough poem. And I invite you just to take a deep breath and to just ground yourself and anchor yourself and just to let these words wash over you. The empty page is the best listener. It does not judge, has no preferences. Everything is invited. Crows that call from distant branches. The man sitting on the cold, cold sidewalk who asks, "Do you have a few dollars for a cup of hot soup?" He is invited too. Here I can write love letters from love to all of the hurting parts of myself. Love letters that quiet the bully voice that insists that good is God. Here I can turn towards the little one inside me and say, "Darling, I am listening." Here I can hold her close, so close that she finally feels safe. Nothing to prove. I used to think I just needed to try harder, work faster, cram myself until I fit, get it right. It turns out that my slow turtle pace has always been right. Turns out that I am just right, and so are you. You do not have to be good. Thank you for the permission, Mary Oliver. Today's grey, wintry sky has its own things to say. Let's pause now and listen. Let's invite it all. And I just actually want to share with you her email that came with it, and then we'll drop into our meditation. But she she said in this email, I found the below poem, which is that not good enough poem, in a folder on my desktop entitled Poems in Progress. When I clicked on Get Info about the file, it showed it was originally created on December the 4th, 2023. So it's been taking a nap for a little over a year. I currently have 35 poems in the Poems in Progress Not Good Enough folder. Today I'm rebelling against the voice that insists I can't share until something meets some undefined good enough standard. Maybe this is your sign, signal, call to rebel too. And then she puts a quote by Beth Kempton on Confessions of a Self-Help Author that said, all that said, writing books is not the point. The point is waking up. That's why I write. That's why I practice writing, to wake up to the experience of life as it is unfolding right now. It's as good a reason as any to do anything, I think. And I think that's why I do this mindful moment. And Julia says, what if we decide that the purpose of creating and sharing is simply to wake up? What if we decide to create simply for the joy of it, for the clarity and relief and release it provides? What if we decide to create, make art because it heals, because it's the best kind of medicine? What if, rather than focusing on good enough, we decide to focus on this question: is it true? So I just thought that was so beautiful. And when you hear her poem, it's more than good enough. And yet it's been sitting in her not good enough folder. So I invite you once more just to let these words land as we drop again into our meditation. The not good enough poem. The empty page is the best listener. It does not judge, has no preferences. Here, everything is invited. Crows that call from distant branches. The man sitting on the cold, cold sidewalk who asks, "Do you have a few dollars for a cup of hot soup?" He is invited too. Here I can write love letters from love to all the hurting parts of myself. Love letters that quiet the bully voice that insists that good is God. Here I can turn towards the little one inside of me and say, "Darling, I'm listening." Here I can hold her close, so close that she finally feels safe. Nothing to prove. I used to think I just needed to try harder, work faster, pray myself until I fit, get it right. It turns out that my slow turtle pace has always been right. It turns out that I am just right, and so are you. You do not have to be good. Thank you for the permission, Mary Oliver. Today's grey, wintry sky has its own things to say. Let's pause now and listen. Let's invite it all. And let's invite it all by listening. Just tuning into the space around us, listening for distant sounds, and close sounds. And letting go of the labels and the judgment and just letting the sounds wash over us. Being present for these sounds. When your thoughts start to wander, because they will, because that's what thoughts do, just gently bringing them back to the anchor of sounds around us. Noticing our tendencies to get hooked into story and just gently releasing that. Then dropping into our other sense of sensation, noticing perhaps air on your skin as it brushes over hairs, over skin, as it rests at your nostrils. If there's a breeze, noticing which side it is brushing you from. Noticing sensation of skin on skin, of body meeting floor or cushion or chair. Sensations of grounding. Sensations of support and receiving support. Moving to a sensation of smell, noticing what sits at your nose, at your nostrils, warmth or cool. Cool inhale, warm exhale. Noticing sense. Maybe taking your hands up to your nose again if you had dropped any oil in there. And then following the sense of smell and dropping into the mouth, into taste, the touch of the tongue. Noticing tastes that are resting in our mouths, where they may sit on our tongue. Noticing our textures of our tongues. How they fill our mouths, where they sit, where they rest. And then dropping down further so that you come to rest in your heart space or belly, finding which anchor is calling you today, where it feels comfortable to sit. Just noticing movement, expansion and contraction. Receiving and letting go. Filling up and emptying, like we may fill a bucket or a cup. And noticing that even as we empty, that there's still a fullness. And feeling into that fullness. We're never truly empty, we are always supported. We just need to tap into that support. Just resting here for a while. Nothing to do, nowhere to be, nothing to prove. Just being good enough. Just resting in the space of enough, of fullness, comforting the hurt parts of ourselves. Perhaps resting your hands on your heart space or on your belly, or one on your heart and one on your belly. Offering yourself a moment of tenderness, of holding as you may hold a child, of comfort, of support that we so often look to the external world to offer us. The empty page is the best listener. It does not judge, has no preferences. Here, everything is invited. Crows that call from distant branches, the man sitting on the cold, cold sidewalk who asks, "Do you have a few dollars of hot soup for a cup of hot soup?" He is invited too. Here I can write love letters from love to all the hurting parts of myself. Love letters that quiet the bully voice that insists that good is God. Here I can turn towards the little one inside me and say, "Darling, I'm listening." Here I can hold her close, so close that she finally feels safe. Nothing to prove. I used to think that I just needed to try harder, work faster, cram myself until I fit, get it right. I used to think I just needed to try harder, work faster, cram myself until I fit, get it right. It turns out that my slow turtle pace has always been right. Turns out I am just right, and so are you. You do not have to be good. Thank you for the permission, Mary Oliver. Today's grey, wintry sky has its own things to say. Let's pause now and listen. Let's invite it all. I'm just taking a few last breaths, breathing in, perhaps sighing out. Perhaps moving fingers and toes, hugging, squeezing, wiggling, comforting, holding. And when you're ready, opening your eyes to the world around you, to the lights, the colors, names and faces on the screen. Thank you for joining today. I wish you a blessed day. Please feel free to unmute to say something or to put something in the chat, comment, or sharing your experience. And also, please let me know if you would like to do one next week. I am able to and can do one next week, but only if it's going to be, if they're going to be people who are able to be present for it. Thank you for joining. Hello, La.
Thanks, Nex. That was so beautiful.
Oh, thank
And
you.
if everybody's up for it, I'd love to do next Tuesday. But there's no pressure.
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Sorry.
Thank you, La.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Nat says she'd
Always
like
so
to.
valuable.
So, well, as I say, I do it for me too. So that would be Wednesday the 18th. And I'd be very happy to if there are others around, because the following week is Christmas. So
Yeah.
we'll do one then. And then we'll probably take, and then the following week is New Year's Day. We won't do one then either. So it would be a little break.
Tough.
Yeah. Thank you, Lo.
Thank
Thank you, Sue. Thanks, Nats. Oh, good. Yeah. Yeah. Lovely to have you back, Heather.
Have a beautiful day on the beach today.
Thank you. Yeah, still finishing up some work and things, but definitely going to go for a little bit of a swim and sup now.
Oh,
Then
yes.
yeah.
Okay.
And I hope you can also all find some time and space to carve out for yourselves.
Thanks, next.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Scott.
Bye.
Bye. So we'll see you next week. Yay, Catherine, it's lovely to have you live. Hopefully, maybe next week again. Okay, much love, everyone. That I'll forward you the email. Take care, everyone.